Welcome back, boxing fans, to the great show with Sean on boxing. So, obviously, there's been all kinds of this and that, and people in their emotions over lots of things that have been going on over this week, all focused on two fighters in boxing. Obviously, Canelo Alvarez and then Tank Davis. Two very different athletes. One, a Hall of Famer with a historical legacy. One, an underachiever, a guy who's not yet lived up to the expectation, to the hype surrounding him. Coming into the sport, Tank Davis was a much more hyped fighter thanks to Floyd Mayweather than Canelo Alvarez was. Obviously, Canelo came in underground, fighting in Mexico, building himself up until he finally broke out in America, obviously working on Floyd Mayweather undercards, working with De La Hoya, and gradually building his name to be the most popular Mexican fighter in the world. Took that on and followed Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya to become the pay-per-view star in America. Tank Davis, of course, was pushed by Floyd Mayweather and the PBC, hoping to take over that moniker or that status, but have failed to deliver, never lived up to that expectation. The only fight that Tank Davis has really been involved in that really was super successful was the Ryan Garcia. And a lot of that is thanks to Ryan Garcia and his social media presence, able to bring boxing with social media together to put on what was a very successful fight. Since then, Tank Davis has been unable to equal those kind of views once again, which is ironically enough one of the reasons why he's fighting another social media person on Netflix in Jake Paul, right? Actually becoming the B-side to fight on Netflix as part of the MVP promotional company, right? Tank Davis, underachieving, never delivering, a guy who unfortunately has never lived up to the expectation that Tank Davis fans, PBC fans, Floyd Mayweather fans were hoping for. That's why I call him Adrian Broner 2.0, because his career, like Adrian Broner's, was a manufactured career that just never really lived up to expectation. Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, he comes under kind of the same scrutiny and criticism that a guy like Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, and Oscar De La Hoya come under, right? People criticize and rip them apart, looking for reasons to downplay and diminish their resumes and their status. But in doing that, I mean, you're only showing your real negativity and hate towards the fighter, because his resume is one of the best, if not the best, of current boxers that are active today. And if that's the case, the only criticism you can have to him is maybe he could be more dominant in some of his performances. But to hate on him, well, fighters that you support and fanboy for, that unfortunately fucking live in his shadow and never have come close to delivering what he's been able to do. So it's ironic that he gets the hate, where guys that unfortunately not even fucking close to him, like Tank Davis and others, somehow are given a pass. We know what that is. That's the end card, right? You know, and this is one reason why this YouTube boxing community is really, you know, black fatigue has really been a big thing that's set in this whole community, because it's always fucking a double standard, right? Being critical of fighters who've been very fucking accomplished, very successful, while hyping up fighters who have failed to deliver, have never lived up to expectation, have never really delivered and given boxing fans what they were hoping for. And I'm an optimist. I always say, well, you know, they're young, so they could still end up going on to do great things in boxing. But when we look at some previous examples, like an Adrian Broner, like a Deontay Wilder, like an Errol Spence, like Charlo and Charlo, all PBC fighters, all fighters that the black boxing community gathered around, supported, and really pushed and talked about how these guys were the biggest names in sports and how the PBC was the dominant promotional company in the world thanks to this stable of fighters. Yet all five of them have all failed utterly uh, never lived up to expectations, been around a long time, and failed to really deliver what some other fighters have done. Example, case in point, Usyk, Canelo, Lomachenko, right? Inui. Like these fighters are literally doing everything you'd want a boxer to do, but yet it's still not enough. And we know why. Because they just don't look like that community. And that community cannot accept anyone that doesn't look like them being recognized as a dominant boxer in the sport. We'll get into more of that as we move forward. But let's check out who's here today. Mar the Machine, what's up? Hawker Mustang, boot sparring with Canelo is somehow all racist now. Of course, they are going to make it racist because somehow he's off code. Yet Martinez, who's working with Bud Crawford, is a Latino fighter. How come the Latin population isn't calling him a sellout, an Uncle Tom, right? I understand people love to talk about how, this is not just this, it's always this. And that's true. You got to be fair and understand that hate, negativity, racism, and fanboyism comes from fucking all over the YouTube boxing community. It's not just one demographic. And I recognize that. But I'm primarily focused on these channels that love to accuse everybody else of something while they themselves actually do the thing they accuse everyone of doing. And that's why I've always focused on pointing at them specifically. Hard Recoils in the house. How is Canelo weight bully after he fought all opponents much better than him, bigger than him? And we'll talk about that because that's the irony, right? That's the irony with this new narrative that somehow people got to point out the fact that Canelo Alvarez is bigger than fucking Bud Crawford. Well, everybody knows Canelo Alvarez is bigger than Bud Crawford as far as musculature and weight. We knew that because Bud Crawford's coming up from 154, jumping up 2 weight divisions to go to 168, just like Charlo did. So it's nothing new, but what these people are failing to understand is that Canelo is not the one who made this fight, pushed for this fight, and is the manufacturer of this fight. That's primarily Turkey and Bud Crawford. So don't try to make excuses now. You got what you asked for. So prepare yourself, do the best you can, and then prove the haters wrong. Because that's all you can do, right? Both of them, Canelo and Bud Crawford, when it comes down to it. Boots next to Canelo looks much bigger, so who is the weight bully? Well, that's a fact. Guaranteed weight, Boots Ennis and a lot of fighters are far bigger than Canelo Alvarez. And that's kind of the thing that makes me laugh with this whole weight bully size disadvantage kind of thing. Because we've had tons of examples of fighters smaller stepping up to face bigger fighters, and very seldom is the weight bully moniker thrown around, unless, of course, it's a black fighter who's the one they feel is being unfairly treated. Example, when Tank Davis fought Ryan Garcia, right? It's fair that Ryan Garcia gets drained and drawn down in weight and looks like a skeleton in the weigh-in because it's just an even playing field. Well, why even make that fight if that's the fucking thing you need to do to put the fight on? Draw a fighter down to a weight that is not even safe and healthy for him just to make a pay-per-view, right? This is the one story people fail to talk about. It's not a competitive fight when a fighter is drained so visibly. And that doesn't matter what color a fighter is. That's just the reality. Boxing should hold itself to higher levels of criticism and expectation. And Tank Davis fighting Jake Paul, that shit is fucking weak. Weak. But we'll get into it more after I have a drink of this. I pointed out this quite a bit before with regards to both Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, who are both very big welterweights at 147 pounds, both who obviously have now moved up to 154, and ultimately that's going to be their division to prove themselves. Both of them, Boots and Virgil. Both of these fighters that blatantly ducked the Bud Crawford WBO world title fight, right? But let's talk about some examples of fighters who fought bigger fighters, and boxing didn't care because none of these fighters were black. So it wasn't necessity to actually point out this as a topic of discussion because you didn't need to make excuses. No one was fucking looking for a way to protect a fighter that looked like them. Let's talk about when Tim Tszyu was roped in by the PBC to fight Funduro. He was first scheduled to fight Keith Thurman in a fight that most of us felt was garbage, but we understood why the PBC was doing it because that's what the PBC does. Hence, Funduro now fighting Keith Thurman. Fucking more of the same. Barrios fighting Manny Pacquiao. More of the fucking same. This is the PBC's model to give us old fighters with name recognition past their best in fights that no one gives a fuck about, and then charge $85 on pay-per-view, and then act like somehow PBC is dominating boxing. Yeah, okay. But the reality of the situation is when Funduro was the replacement opponent, a guy that was literally coming off of a loss, already had a scheduled fight for the WBC title, but was slipped in to this Tim Tszyu fight. Nobody was focused on the fact that Funduro was 4, 5, 6 inches taller and had a 7, 8-inch reach advantage and physically was a way bigger fighter than Tim Tszyu, right? People use the phrase cheat code. That's what he was. He's a cheat code, right? They utilized that cheat code to beat Tim Tszyu. A lot of people felt that it was the cut that really led to that fight, but then we saw a rematch, and no one complained once again and talked about the size disadvantage and the height advantage and reach advantage that Funduro had in the second fight against Tim Tszyu. It was never a topic of discussion. No one was talking about how this was such a brave maneuver from Tim Tszyu to take on a guy so much bigger than him, right? And the irony is, of course, no one said that because this is boxing. This is a guy who's at your weight class. He has these physical advantages. You have other physical advantages. We will see which ones work the best and who benefits because of these. We've had lots of fighters that were very tall and long that unfortunately never really lived up to expectation, weren't able to utilize their skill set or their natural advantages to benefit themselves, right? And so it's not always a cheat code. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Another example of this so-called cheat code was when Robson Ramirez, Olympic 2-time Olympic gold medalist, who beat Shakur Stevenson in the Olympic Games to become a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, fought Espinoza as a mandatory stay busy opponent. Espinoza was 6 to 8 inches taller than Robson Ramirez, had a 6 to 8 inch reach advantage over Robson Ramirez. Never did anybody talk about the fact that Robson Ramirez was giving up so much height and reach and was had a very big disadvantage against Espinoza. No one talked about that. It was a non-topic of discussion, even when they did the rematch after Espinoza beat Robson Ramirez the first time, kind of like Funduro who beat Tim Tszyu the first time. So when the second fight was scheduled, people weren't really focused specifically on the height and reach advantage, even though we saw what a big advantage that was for Espinoza the first time around. These are two obvious examples. And the reason nobody really got in their emotions because there was no black fighter, no FBA fighter that was involved in this fight. So no one really cared. No one made a big deal about it. It wasn't a topic of discussion, right? You know, and this is one of the clear differences. Whenever it's a black fighter who's giving up advantages, then these kind of topics really become big. They blow up all over social media, like we see now with regards to Canelo Alvarez and Bud Crawford. And Bud Crawford is not at any disadvantage in height and reach in comparison to those fighters, right? You could say physically he's giving up some size and muscle and weight. But once again, I bring this topic up once again. When has weight and strength been an advantage that Canelo Alvarez utilized to win fights? Did he use his strength and physicality to beat Floyd Mayweather? Did he use his strength and physicality to beat Dimitri Bivol? These are two fighters that already beat him, neither of whom had to rely too much on his strength and physicality being too much, you know, him imposing it on them. So why do we feel that somehow he's going to be able to impose all of this against Bud Crawford? He's never imposed it on anyone. The only fighter we've really seen him kind of impose aggressiveness against was Golovkin when he switched from being a counterpuncher to being aggressive come forward fighter in the second Golovkin fight. Primarily the rest of the time, he still remains a counterpuncher who throws low volume, pressures you by cutting off the ring and maneuvering towards you, getting in range, but not using quick explosive movement or feet to get into range, forcing you to do something. It's all slow, monotonous, consistent, waiting for you to throw so he can counter off of your offense, right? This is what Canelo Alvarez is. Very similar to a Marquez. No boxing this weekend. I think there is a fight card. Nunez, I think, is fighting this weekend, and another fight card from the UK, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's next week. Wayne Evans, what's up? Pound for pound, what's up? Boxing fan Anthony says, yeah, but let's be honest. If Tank versus Nui got made, you would be saying Tank should win because he's a bigger man. See, once again, it's always these kind of deflections that people like you and others always fucking pull in. No one was talking about Bud Crawford needing to fight Canelo Alvarez. Never on my channel did I say, for Bud Crawford's legacy, he needs to go up 2 weight classes and fight Canelo Alvarez. Never. I was not pushing him to do that. This was something he did on his own. This was a choice he made because he feels comfortable in that choice. And he also knows that being closely affiliated with Turkey, he's going to get a career high payday, life-changing money. Not unlike Tank Davis, who's fighting a fucking social media guy. The difference is one is a legacy fight, one is a clown fucking circus fight. Now you're talking about if Inoue was fighting Tank Davis. Inoue, unlike Bud Crawford, has already came through 5 weight divisions. Bud Crawford hasn't been through 5 weight divisions right now. And for Inoue to fight Tank Davis, he'd have to go to 126, 130, 135. 8 weight classes. The same thing Manny Pacquiao did going up to 154. Did Bud Crawford go through that many weight classes? He's been through 4 and now 5, 6. So 6 weight classes Bud Crawford's moved through and did voluntarily. Why do we need to bring Inoue and Tank Davis into this conversation? That's not a fight that's happening. Tank Davis and Inoue aren't chasing that fight. But see, this is how guys like you always want to make this racial narrative, because that's what this is about. You're trying to compare Inoue and Canelo Alvarez and try to show a racial fucking discrepancy. There is no racial discrepancy because a Tank Davis Inoue fight isn't fucking happening. Tank Davis would rather fight social media people. Inoue would rather fight pound for pound fighters and build his legacy into one of the best legacies of the fucking year, of this era. So Inoue's going to end up a Hall of Famer, the best Asian fighter in all time. Well, Tank Davis is going to be fucking an underachiever who never lived up to expectation. That has nothing to do with you being a fanboy or me being a hater. This is all based on the fighters and what they're doing, the choices they are making. And the difference is, Inoue doesn't need Tank Davis. Him fighting MJ and then Nick Ball and then fucking Junta Nakatani, those 3 fights right there solidify his legacy as much better than Tank Davis's. And it ain't even fucking close. Tank and Inoue are the same height and reach. Yeah. But what's your point? You're talking about a fantasy fight. We're talking about a real fight. Bud Crawford is fighting Canelo Alvarez. He chose to move up 6 weight classes, not 8, to take on Canelo Alvarez. No one forced him to do it. This is a choice he chose. No one is focusing on the fucking weight discrepancy because there is none. This isn't an issue. You're talking about Tank Davis and Inoue is just a deflection. Why do you need to deflect? Oh, because you're trying to protect somebody. Who are you trying to protect? But they telling Tank to go get the bag in a circus. Exactly. And they're justifying it. They're happy that Tank Davis is fighting a social media fucking guy in an exhibition fight. But then you want to bring Inoue into the conversation. Tank is fighting Jake Paul, and people want him to fight Inui. You would have a different energy if that fight was made. You would call it a cherry pick for Tank and not give any credit when he obviously wins. When he obviously wins. Is he obviously going to win? But it's different with Canelo and Crawford. No, boxing fan Anthony. This is you being a fucking PBC fanboy, a Tank Davis dick rider. This fight has nothing to do with Tank Davis. Tank Davis isn't interested in taking on great fighters and legacy. He's interested in taking on bullshit fights, exhibition fights against social media people. So why even bringing him into the conversation? His career is already a write-off. If Inui moved up 8 weight classes and got beat by Tank Davis, how are you going to hate on him? The dude went up 8 weight divisions. How many weight divisions did Tank Davis go through? 3. And basically, he's fought most of his career just 2 weight divisions, 130, 135. Similar weight classes. Tank never had a competitive bone in his body. That's the difference. Crawford's going up because he's competitive and wants to prove himself. And he feels confident that he can beat Canelo. If Inui felt confident and the fight made sense for him to go up and fight Tank, he could do it. I don't see why he'd do it. Why would you go up 8 weight divisions when you have fights like Junto, which is going to be far bigger than any fight Tank Davis has been in his career? Not talking about Jake Paul, because that's a Jake Paul fight, not a fucking Tank Davis fight. And then, of course, him potentially fighting Nick Ball in Saudi Arabia. He's making tons of money and building his legacy. We don't need to hate on Inui to hype up Tank Davis. Tank Davis has proven he ain't interested in fucking getting support from boxing fans. You think Inui is going to pass Pacquiao as best Asian fighter ever? Yes, I do. I don't see it. Well, you don't have to see it. He's already done things that Pacquiao never did. Unify titles in 2 weight divisions. Pacquiao, did he ever unify in any weight division? Pacquiao sure went through 8 weight classes, never unified titles in any weight class. 3 pounds at a time. See, once again, boxing fan Anthony, this is a fanboy like you that's not using body percentage as a real thing. Like, bigger guys put on more weight, and it's the same percentage that smaller guys put on less weight. That's just the way bodies are. Everybody's body is different. But this is what dumbasses like you always have to say. Like, what does this have to do with Inui? We're talking about Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez and how we see fighters that aren't black consistently fight guys way bigger than them, and it's never a conversation. And then, of course, you got to bring a black guy into the conversation and make it racial and prove my point once again. The only time this is a topic is when a black guy's involved. When there's no black guy involved, no one talks about size disadvantage. No one fucking harps on it. Nobody makes 8 to 10 videos fucking making this the topic of discussion. What's up, drunk Irishman? Duck will duck him. Rick Glazer stands firm that Tank is retiring from taking real fights ever again. I believe it. If he makes $40 million fighting Jake Paul, he's probably going to retire. They say he's making $200 million. Please. Mike Tyson didn't make fucking $100 million. So how's Tank Davis going to make $200 million? I guarantee you, Tank Davis Jake Paul fight is not going to be as big as Mike Tyson Jake Paul. It's just not. Body percentage wise, Bud has moved up more. You calculate by doing change in weight divided by original weight times 100. Once again, you prove my point. The only time people have these conversations about weight is when a black fighter is involved. Nobody was moaning and groaning about Manny Pacquiao going up 8 weight divisions, fighting guys that were bigger than him consistently. This wasn't a conversation. When Lomachenko went to 135, fighting everyone that's bigger than him, it wasn't a constant fucking argument about him being forced to fight guys that were far bigger than him because bitches like Tank Davis at 130 ducked him and were too scared. Margarito was 17 pounds advantage over Manny. Yeah. And that was with a catch weight I think they had on, right? Like they fought at like 152 or something, not at the legitimate 154. Sean Pacquiao beat the Mexican three, Morales, Barrera, Marquez. Does Nui have better 3 wins than that? Not to mention all the other names. Fredo. Inui's not fucking finished his career yet. So at this point, you're a little premature. And the other thing that you notice that Inui doesn't have is any fucking knockout losses. Pacquiao had fucking multiple knockout losses. 2 early on, and then 3, right? So what did he have? 3 knockout losses in his career, if I'm not mistaken, right? So 3 times he was stopped by opponents. Inui has never lost anything. So, we can only talk about this comparison after someone's career is finished. But to talk about Inui potentially being above Pacquiao as the best Asian fighter of all time is not a stretch, because he's easily going to become a 5-weight world champion, which he's joining a small list of less than 10 fighters in boxing history who've accomplished that, Pacquiao being one of them. Never thought the day would come where Newton would criticize Pacquiao for not unifying. I'm not criticizing him. I'm just pointing out that Inui has done things that Pacquiao never did. Inui is never going to go up 8 weight divisions to fight either. Pacquiao did. So they each have positives and negatives. I mean, to try to act like every fighter is the same and that you're going to look at every career in the same way. See, this is the kind of people that put Floyd Mayweather as the best fighter of all time because he beat 26 champions. Yeah, but of course, Sugar Ray Robinson and fighters like that could never have beat 26 world champions because there weren't 4 fucking world titles in a weight class. And there weren't fucking 16 to 18 weight divisions. There were 8. So guys in the old school would never have been able to get that many champions in their career. So, people got to use a little bit of common sense and break shit down fairly when they talk about comparing one fighter to another. Fredo, thank you very much. What will be bigger, Canelo Bud or Tank Jake? Well, to be fair, because of Jake Paul, potentially the Netflix fight with him might be bigger than Canelo and Bud because boxing fans are fucking idiots that just don't support the sport. You look at this community we live in, they'd rather fucking support Tank Davis versus Jake Paul because that's the kind of fucking mental cases, specifically Americans, that support the sport of boxing. So even you do a fight like Canelo and Bud, which is the biggest fight of 2025. I mean, come on. You can't even say Tank Davis and Jake Paul's a fight. It's not a fight. It's a circus act. It's an exhibition. So there's no reality to it. It's not even going to count to their resume. So like that shit means nothing. That's like when Muhammad Ali fought a judo fucking guy. Like no one remembers that fight. Most people that are fans of Ali don't even remember he fought a fucking judo guy, which ended up fucking up his knees, right? But that's boxing. You get all these fucking so-called boxing fans, but they're not boxing fans. They're race fucking hustlers. They're fucking idiots. They're the worst kind of humans fucking possible. Guys like John Boxing, fucking Dante, these dudes, all they want to do is create fucking friction and tension. Not just in the boxing community, but in America, right? They hate fucking America. I'm not American, and I love America more than they do, which is crazy and ridiculous. I said the same thing. Fredo, the numbers mean nothing to us fans, which is going to be a better fight. Yeah, I mean, a better fight is Canelo Bud. I mean, it's a fight. Even if it's not a great, exciting fight, it's still a better fight than Tank Davis, Jake Paul, which is literally fucking a circus act. Like, you're going to see a fucking British bulldog fight a fucking, some clown or something. And that's what it is. It's going to be just a ridiculous thing. They might as well just put fucking 15-ounce gloves on them. Nobody ever says that when Floyd brings up the most champions, it's like, dude, they didn't have all the belts or weight classes back then. Exactly. But that's how stupid Floyd Mayweather fans are. They buy into everything guys like him say, right? Like you just saw Gavin Newsom that said that 8 of the most violent cities in America are from Republican states. But what he didn't tell you is 6 of those have Democratic mayors, right? That's the fucking thing he didn't tell you, because these people love to twist the fucking narrative. They love to lie. They don't want to be fucking forthcoming. They don't want to be outright. Like John Boxing, who always lies, says Golovkin only fought 3 champions. That's a blatant fucking lie. It's a lie. He fought more world champions than that. Not fucking a hell of a lot more. But if you're going to fucking hate on a guy, at least be factual. Be honest. When he says that Leo Santa Cruz had 2 fights at 126 pounds or 130 pounds before he beat Tank Davis, once again, a fucking lie. Tank Davis gave up his belt, went to 140. Leo Santa Cruz came up, fought a dude that wasn't even ranked in the 15th, top 15 to get a belt. He won that belt in a shit fight where he didn't look good. He didn't dominate a bum. And then Tank Davis came straight down and fought him. Basically, Tank Davis took a fucking stay busy fight at a different weight, and they pretended to switch belts so Tank Davis could say he beat a champion on pay-per-view. Jake Paul hasn't sold well outside of his early years with the UFC fighters and Mike Tyson. How many pay-per-views did he sell against Nate Diaz and Mike Perry? Nobody knows who fucking Mike Perry is, and Nate Diaz is typically just a UFC dude. So why would those fights be big? The fight you look at is Mike Tyson. You're going to try to say Tank Davis is the one selling the fight. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Tank Davis is the one. What fucking big fucking pay-per-view did Tank Davis have outside of Ryan Garcia? How did his last fucking fight do with Lamont Roach? You never heard anyone tell you the numbers because the numbers are shit. That's why him and the PBC happily fucking moved past that fight, because it didn't do well to begin with. And of course it wasn't going to do well. You cherry-picked a fighter from 130. Again. Lemieux Murata. Well, not just Lemieux Murata, also Daniel Geale. Daniel Geale is a 2-time champion. And Danny Jacobs was an IBF champion. Right? So, people love to be fucking negative, but it has nothing to do with that. He also fought Canelo 3 times, who was a pound-for-pound fighter, right? But once again, this is just people trying to use Golovkin to hate on non-black fighters, and then they use Floyd Mayweather to love on black fighters, and they use those 2 fighters to compare everyone. All black fighters are Floyd. All non-black fighters are fucking Golovkin. Of course, it will be Netflix. I have Netflix, but I'm going to illegally stream Tank Jake anyway. Not getting my view. Boxing Ego been saying for 10 years that Canelo's doors are closed in, and Canelo still has the face of boxing. Honestly, I don't see nobody taking his place no time soon. Well, I mean, guys like him are fucking tools. I mean, his whole network, his whole platform was based on fucking race baiting, right? That's ego. He learned from fucking Dante, and he just followed Dante. Stringer from above, what's up? Boots sparring with Canelo got the LDBC crashing out. Have you talked about Boots not staying on code? We can talk about that, because for me, I don't even think this is a real conversation. Once again, this is only a conversation because a black fighter is involved, right? Weight bully topics because a black fighter's involved. Not staying on code because a black fighter's involved. When this is a non-black fighter, you never have these fucking conversations. No one focuses on fucking weight bully shit. No one talks about being on code. No one fucking worries about fucking PED testing. It's only when black fighters are involved and their fans are consistently looking for fucking this blatant double standard, this way to defend them consistently by pulling out these kind of excuses. No one gives a fuck about Boots Ennis sparring with fucking Canelo Alvarez. That doesn't mean anything. If Canelo is old and past his best, sparring fucking Boots ain't gonna fucking make him better. It's not gonna make him beat Bud Crawford if he was never fucking that good at this point of his career anyway. And a lot of people have been questioning Canelo. They think he's slipped. He's not where he once was. He's gradually sort of deteriorated over the last few years, right? Really since the Bivol fight. So if that's the case, then why you need all these fucking excuses? I feel pretty confident that Bud Crawford is going to beat Canelo Alvarez. The one concession is if Bud Crawford puts on weight and his legs aren't good, then I feel okay. Then I think if he's not able to move and be explosive with his legs, then potentially Canelo Alvarez is going to break him down and stop him to the body late in the fight. And that's my prediction. Bud Crawford by unanimous decision. Canelo Alvarez by late round stoppage to the body, primarily. Obviously, he might land a headshot, but it's going to be basically built up because of body work, right? That basically breaks Bud Crawford down as the fight progresses. Boots' brother sparred with Canelo, so he is closer to him. I think he fought at 154. I didn't even know Boots had a brother. Is his brother a professional fighter? The reality is, I mean, Bud Crawford is working with Latino fighters. And you don't see Latino fucking channels all over YouTube getting in their feelings, talking about these Latin brothers being off code. Because it's only a topic of discussion when a Black American, a foundational Black American fighter's there. Because DEI is in full effect. We got to protect the Black brothers, right? They can't protect themselves, so we need to protect them. This is like those white Karens all over social media standing up and fucking protesting and being in front of fucking the lines, Black Lives Matter and everything else, speaking for the Black population because they feel the Black population can't speak for themselves. Like, fuck, man. We don't need to give these people fucking special treatment. We could just treat them like we treat everybody. Fair and across the board. What has Bud done at 154, 160, and 168 to be a formidable opponent for Canelo? Well, he was a champion at 154, Waldo. So, see, once again, so you hate on Crawford, or you're trying to make a fucking excuse if he loses to Canelo. Bud Crawford feels confident that coming up from 154 to 168, he's going to be good enough to beat fucking Canelo Alvarez. All I can do is trust him and roll with him on his beliefs. And truthfully, for the most part, I kind of do favor Bud Crawford, and I do have faith in him. The irony I find is that Black Americans don't, that they need to fucking run to the fence making a fucking excuse. It's no different than people trying to call out fucking Bud Crawford for PEDs. Once again, he's fucking with snack. I wouldn't be surprised if he's fucking using PEDs. I think everyone's on PEDs. So that's why I don't talk about it, because I don't care. But people supporting Canelo, who was caught using PEDs, right? And ironically enough, you didn't see Golovkin fans, me and others, fucking going crazy when Canelo failed a PED test. Can you imagine if Canelo fails a PED test after beating Bud Crawford? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Canelo wins, but the cards are controversial and people feel the fix is in through Vegas? Can you imagine the fucking kickback? It's going to be way bigger than it was for Golovkin. Because once again, that's what happens when a FBA fighter's involved. This is the emotional fucking reaction to overly emotional individuals, right? That use this race fucking stuff to push their channel. Bud is great, but it's a weight classes for a reason. We will see. Because you, silly ass Waldochenko, you think Canelo is garbage. So if he's garbage, then it shouldn't be that fucking big of a deal. The only time they say big men beat small men is when it's great big men against great small men. But you don't think Canelo's great. John Boxing doesn't think he's great. So if he's not great, then it shouldn't be a fucking issue for a great foundational black fighter to beat him. Because we know black fighters are great. Everybody else is trash and garbage and over fucking rated. Right? So if that's the way you believe, fucking stop fucking crying. Stop making excuses. You sound like the kids in my kindergarten class. Whining and moaning fucking about everything. Consistently. Derek Ennis fights at 147. He is 24-5-1 and lost to Caleb Truax's last fight. I just can't give a super middleweight credit for beating a man with no good wins at 154, 160, 168. Bud Crawford has a good win. He beat Madrimov to become a WBA champion at 154 pounds, and then was blatantly ducked by fucking Funduro. Blatantly fucking ducked by Funduro when he was the WBO mandatory. So, you can say what you want, but to me, it sounds like you're just fucking making excuses, right? That was like when John Boxing today was trying to fucking compare me using Usyk to point out a real size disadvantage, Usyk fighting Fury, right? Giving up fucking 6 inches in height, 9 inches in reach, 50 pounds in weight. Like, that's a size discrepancy that Usyk had to combat to beat Tyson Fury. What Bud Crawford has is fucking marginal at best. Marginal. And then you have to pull in Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, who cherry-picked and fucking fat, inactive Tyson Fury to do his first pay-per-view. And it blew up in his face. And you're going to use that as an excuse. You cherry-pick a dude, and then you fucking get beat by him. You get gifted a fucking draw, only to get knocked out in the next 2 fights. And we saw what happened there. Once again, a black fighter loses, and it was a year of fucking Glovegate bullshit. Because whenever a black fighter is involved, this is what happens. You've never seen a non-black fighter being involved in a controversy situation like fucking Glovegate with Wilder. Never. Because Mexican, Asian, white fans are not that fucking ridiculous that they're going to spend 1 year crying like bitches because a fighter they like lost. They're probably going to fucking get on with it and then support other fighters. Long count. See? Once again, you prove my point. Prove my point. Bitching and moaning like a fucking schoolgirl. You cherry-picked him. You cherry-picked a dude because you ducked fucking Anthony Joshua. You dudes are cringe, man. Cringe. Right? And then people say, well, you always talk about race. Everything I say is fucking totally true. Only when it's an FBA fighter does the DEI kick in. Oh, the long count. Oh, Glovegate. Oh, weight bully. Oh, PEDs. Oh, the gloves. Right? They used the gloves against Bud Crawford. Now you fucking, what are you going to say? I'm bring up the gloves. Bud Crawford cheats. Look at his gloves. The suit was too heavy in the second fight. He had no legs. See, now you're mocking Deontay Wilder. So, thanks. But basically, you're mocking Deontay Wilder. You're definitely not supporting him. They should want Canelo to get the best sparring. It's Boots, so he can have no excuse. But they profuse clickbait for views. Exactly. It's all clickbait. Sean, did Boots really sell out on the race for sparring Canelo? No. Sell out the race. That race fucking kills themselves fucking constantly. American black on black crime in America is fucking crazy. You would think that would be fucking breaking code, killing other black men in America, killing black kids, black women, right? Innocent fucking victims, not gangbangers, but just normal people. That's breaking fucking code, right? But when Black Lives Matters is crying about fucking one dude, George Floyd, getting killed by the police, they ignore the fucking hundreds of fucking black people get killed by other black Americans. They ignore it. Don't talk about it. We don't want to talk about that. That makes us look bad. Yeah. Not only is Crawford going to be surprised by Canelo's power, he's going to be surprised by Canelo's skill set in the middle of the ring. I have Canelo by stoppage. Man, we're still making excuses for Wilder in 2025. Whenever it's a FBA fighter, we got to make excuses. We got to fucking use DEI to fucking support them because there's a fucking double standard for sure. And it's fucking DEI. Eugene says, Bud should beat Canelo, no problem. Remember, Canelo is overrated bum with a basic style, and Bud is a Wakanda warrior. Exactly. Exactly. That's what you said. You said that. Canelo's a basic fucking bum. Bud Crawford's fucking a superstar, a Wakanda warrior. So, yeah, Bud Crawford should easily fucking beat Canelo Alvarez. If fucking Bivol could beat him, fucking Bud Crawford should destroy him, right? What's up, JD? And the reality is, I support Crawford to win the fight. So I ain't hating on Bud, but I also don't need to make fucking excuses. If Bud loses, I'm going to be very surprised, if especially if it's a decision. If it's a stoppage late in the fight, and I see that the physicality and the heavy blows start to wear Bud Crawford down, then it will play into what I said. Bud Crawford by unanimous decision, Canelo by late stoppage. That's my prediction. If I was betting money on the fight, that's what I would bet. I think Bud Crawford's reach, his power, his legs should be able to allow him to fight at a distance and pace that benefits him. Canelo is not an aggressive Mexican fighter. He's a counterpuncher with low volume who doesn't utilize a jab very often. And it's going to be hard for him to utilize the jab against a guy with a longer reach in Bud Crawford, especially if Crawford's jab looks like it did against fucking Spence. His jab was fucking wicked that fight. Sean, do you watch Champ Side? Not usually, because he is a fucking chump. But I did see that he was going in on Tank Davis. Bivol, a light heavyweight, Bud, a welterweight. Floyd was a welterweight. Smaller and less reach than Bud Crawford. Not as versatile as Bud Crawford. A counterpuncher. Not a switch hitter that can utilize a jab and movement. So if Floyd could do it, Bud Crawford fucking should easily be able to do it. I mean, you may not have faith in him, but that's all you. You don't have faith in Bud Crawford. Because in true silly ass Waldochenko, you don't really like black fucking fighters either. You're just a troll who comes on here and talks out your ass consistently. Bud is closer, style is closer to Hagler than Floyd. Champ Side, Blue Blood, 78, BFTB are part of Devin Haney's crew. Of course they are. Those dudes dick riding Haney hard. They all hate Tank Davis. But John's going to say, racist hating on Tank Davis. Nobody hates on Tank Davis more than the fucking LDBC. And nobody hates on fucking Devin Haney more than the fucking PBC fanboys who are all Tank Davis fans, right? They don't like fucking Haney because Haney's a simp. That dude's a simp. Did you see Rampage Jackson's son beat up the wrestler? I did. That shit was fucking ridiculous. He should be arrested. Not fucking suspended and blackballed from that wrestling group. He should be arrested. That was fucking assault. That shit was crazy, man. Like, literally, he fucking pounded the shit out of the guy when he was fucking already knocked out. Like, when you knock a dude out, man, step off. Like, you already know you fucking flatlined a dude. That would be like Marquez fucking then jumping on Pacquiao and starting fucking throwing fists on him when Pacquiao was already fucking KO'd. That shit's fucking brutal, right? It's a street fight. You're street fighting a guy who doesn't know he's in a street fight, so you catch him off guard and then beat the piss out of him. Man, that guy, he's mental. If I was his dad, I'd be fucking very, very disappointed with my son. All John's video are race-laced. That's all John can do is talk about race. John is fixated on race. He hates white America. And being a black American, he thinks somehow they deserve fucking DEI all the time. And having a Mexican wife, maybe he's getting DEI, right? Because we know fucking, illegal immigrants get all the benefits. So maybe he's benefiting in all the illegal immigrant benefits. He's got his cake and eating it too. John's on top of the world, but he's still bitter, angry, right? Like, the things these dudes make videos about is because they're bitter, angry fucking people. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. My life is great. They say, oh, you're not married. Why do I need to be married? Why do I need a woman telling me what to do? Telling me where I can go, what I can do, when I can do it. I don't need fucking a mother to dictate my life. I can do what the fuck I want whenever I want it. I'm free. Yes. Ironic, right? for a dude that fucking hates on Mexicans as much as he does, but his wife is Mexican. Obviously, she never listens to his videos. Rampage son Raja was on live stream and let his chat get him riled up of kids triggering him. Yeah, he's an idiot. An idiot. But he's a foundational black fighter. So, look for fucking people to start supporting him and say the dude deserved it. The guy deserved it. He deserved it. He deserved it. He represents white America. Black America gave him what he deserves after 400 years. Retribution, right? It's retribution. Man, my dad gave me only some advice in life, which was whatever you do, don't get married. So that stuck. Thanks, Dad. He didn't get that advice. He got married 3 times. Fucking, always divorced, always broke, always fucking, unhappy. Because I think at truth, he was a romantic. But women won't let you be romantics. Women are fucking sharks, man. Sharks. Just look at that woman that's fucking over Devin Haney. Fucking skanky whore, right? But everybody knew she was going to fuck him over. He was just too stupid, too young, too fucking immature, too much of a simp to fucking just give her what she needed and not fucking give her what she wanted. Right? And that's all fucking on him. That was a stupid fucking maneuver, getting her pregnant. I'm sure the kid's really cute, but fucking Christ, man. That was the worst move of his fucking career. Worse than fucking fighting Ryan Garcia and getting knocked down fucking 46 times. Fannin is the worst, really, man. I don't know how anybody can listen to his clickbait bullshit channels. It's really the worst thing going on in fucking the YouTube boxing community. Like, that dude is a mental case. Let's just click to see what he's talking about. Marriage doesn't work in a man's favor. Marriage doesn't work in a man's. Hi. I guess that's the FBA freezing me out, trying to stop my message. No freedom of speech. Did the stream cut off? No, we're here. Apparently, my fucking internet went out. My TV just froze and my computer closed. So I'm just using my phone to work off of it. Don't fucking the internet, eh? Best thing in the world until it fucking doesn't work, and then it's fucking you just want to throw something through your TV set. But it is what it is. As far as this Canelo Alvarez shit, like once again, right? Like you're gonna like somehow defend Tank Davis, justify what he's doing, but then look for reasons to hate on Canelo Alvarez. This is what the YouTube boxing community is. They protect and look after fucking Tank Davis because he's FBA. even though what he's doing is pure garbage, right? Whereas Canelo Alvarez is already a Hall of Famer. He's potentially going to become the best Mexican fighter of all time. Maybe, maybe not, but he's in the conversation, right? Tank Davis is never going to be considered the best foundational black American fighter of all time. Fucking not even the best lightweight fighter of all time. Like, not even this best generation of young fighters fucking of all time, right? He's going to be considered Adrian Broner 2.0. And that's where he is, right? That's what we get from him. That 2G Asian Wi-Fi. What do you mean 2G? We got like 5G. But yeah, I never know. I think it's because I'm a foreigner. They're always fucking me over. Sean, have you heard of this LDBC chick, Sugar Free Mars? She's a female Drew Titan. Never heard of her. If she's like Drew Titan, don't even need to listen to her. You know, not that I'm a sexist, but the last thing I need to do is listen to some woman fucking try to tell me about fucking sports. Right? That's why I don't even want to listen to fucking ESPN. I don't need a bunch of fucking women that are on these networks all because of DEI trying to fucking act as if they know more about the sport than I do. Right? And as far as fucking a female Drew Titan, I can't fucking listen to Drew Titan. Why would I listen to a fucking female fucking version of him? That's just fucking cringe as fuck. She's a fake revolutionary type. So why is she talking about boxing? Right? Like, that's the thing with these revolutionary types. They're fucking idiots that are just trying to fucking exploit fucking racism to make money. That's what they're trying to do. The new fucking Black Panthers, right? They act like fucking 2025 is somehow terrible. But it's one of the best times in America's fucking history. If she agrees with him in anything boxing, that's all we need to know. Exactly. Exactly. That dude is a basketball player. Oh, not Drew Titan. That's the other dude. Fucking Drew Titan, he's an ex-cop who fucking got kicked off the force for fucking child molestation, right? We don't need to fucking know anything about him. Just like fucking BFTB, they got kicked out of the fucking military because of being a child molester, right? We're going to listen to these fucking dudes? Yeah, okay. Drew Titan is the female version of Drew Titan, constantly crying, complaining, calling people apes and homosexuals. Another one, right? Like, the reality is that's true about Drew Titan. I don't know. It seems true. I knew he's an ex-cop. Ask yourself why he's an ex-cop. He was either fucking taking fucking money or doing something fucking illegal. You know, that power-hungry motherfucker wouldn't have stopped becoming a cop unless he got kicked off the force because he's a fucking delinquent. BFTB is. That's true. I heard that about him from multiple fucking channels. But not that I care. I don't listen to those guys. So really, I don't need to worry about their terrible fucking characters. I wonder how many black men Drew Titan arrested. Drew on the DL. Well, you know, where's he from? Isn't he like New York or somewhere? Fuck. Probably fucking 70% of the people he arrested were black. And then fucking the rest were Puerto Rican. All I know is this Canelo Alvarez, Bud Crawford fucking fight card is looking great. Drew Titan is a wigga. That's what I was in high school. I was a wigga, a Rasta wigga. Rastafari. But as far as this card, I don't know why anyone is focusing on all this negativity. Let's focus on the positivity, right? These prelim fights, solid. Marco Verdi, once again, an Olympic medalist from Mexico, potentially the next great Mexican fighter. No, the undercard is not terrible. Like, this is a free card on Netflix. What are you talking about? Terrible. Obviously, you just don't know much about boxing. Marco Verdi, one of the best young fighters in boxing. Steve Nelson, Bud Crawford stablemate fighting Santana, a Cuban fighter, should be a solid fight. These other two guys, the obviously Saudi Arabian dude versus an American, I don't know who they are, but we know why he's on the card. Rito Tetsumi, the Japanese fucking Lomachenko versus Javier Martinez, is a really big step up fight for fucking Rioto. Ditchko, an Olympic medalist, fighting Jermaine Franklin Jr. That fight should be great. Don't fucking be surprised if Jermaine Franklin pulls the upset. Boholchuk against Brandon Adams. Brandon Adams is the dude that fucking literally knocked Boholchuk out the last time they faced each other. So this being on the prelims, free on YouTube, this shit's the free on YouTube part of the card. And then the other part of the card is great on Netflix. I don't know how you could hate on it, but some people are just never happy. This man, say Steve Nelson. Steven Nelson. What? You got a problem with Steven Nelson? He just fought Diego Pacheco in a solid fight. And a lot of people feel he won that fight against Pacheco, right? And Pacheco, he's a great fighter, man. Legitimate. Where's my box rack? There it is. Hey, man, how you doing, mate? Good bacon and eggs. What's up? What time's it there? Like 10:22? Good day, pound for pounds. Where's this card? Let's see. A bad card. I disagree, but okay. So then, of course, you have Callum Walsh versus Fernando Vargas. Two up-and-comers, right? Obviously, Callum Walsh is a very hyped-up Irish fighter who's been fighting on those UFC boxing cards. So boxer fans don't really know him so much. And then Boholchuk Adams. And then Christian Mbili versus Lester Martinez should be a great fight. A great fight. That shit should be off the hook. I'm excited. I mean, out of this card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights, man. I'm excited to watch. 8 fights. Back in the day when I watched fucking free boxing on network TV, you get like 2 fights, sometimes 1 fight, right? But usually 2, a prelim fight and then the main event. That's what you got. Free on ABC, NBC, CBS. Sean, is Christine Nome hot? That name's familiar. Nome is cute, but too much makeup. Is she like political? Why do I know her name? Christine Nome. Uh, yeah, she's old. Way too much makeup. Too old. She might have been hot back in the day. How old is she? She look old as fuck. 53. Yeah. That bitch almost as old as me. God damn. She like 55, but she's hot. I don't see nobody talking Usyk #1 spot. I think if Bud Crawford beats Canelo, he will take over Usyk's #1 spot. If Canelo beats Bud Crawford, I don't think he takes over that #1 spot. If Inui beats MJ and then does it convincingly, and then beats Junto Nakatani and does that convincingly, and then goes up and beats Nick Ball to become a 5-weight world champion and does that convincingly, I think he becomes pound for pound #1. But that's like dominant victories against top level fighters moving into your 5th weight division, something that Usyk obviously can't do and won't do. I can't picture Crawford losing because he never has. Canelo has lost, so it's easier for me to see Crawford winning, but I don't think he will. Yeah, TMG, I agree with you. I kind of feel the same way. I can totally see Crawford win because I've never seen Crawford lose. I haven't even seen Crawford close to being beat. Whereas I've seen Canelo lose multiple times. I think he lost to Golovkin. I know he lost to Floyd. I know he lost to Bivol. Outside of that, I don't think he lost to fucking Lara. I don't know any other fights I think he lost, but I definitely think he lost 3 fights, right? And one was a draw, right, against fucking Golovkin number 2. So I've seen him get beat. Sean, you only date younger but legal women. Yes. Usyk would still be number 1 in my opinion. Less fights and has accomplished with better competition. Bud getting beat. That Madrimov win was close. Okay, that's true. That's true. I kind of overlooked that because to me, I felt Bud Crawford won clearly. Right? Some people thought were trying to make it out that he lost. I never thought he lost. The dominance he had in the last 3 championship rounds definitely put the fucking seal of approval on the fight. But obviously, the first 8, 9 rounds were very competitive. A lot of people don't think Bud beat Madrimov. Bud would have lost to them some opponents also. Bud would have lost to them same opponents also. Yeah, you say Bud would have lost to Floyd? Maybe. I would have loved to see that fight. As far as him fighting Bivol, well, fucking Christ, Bivol, and against Golovkin, I do think he loses to Golovkin because Golovkin's got the weapon I think that's different that Canelo doesn't have, and that's the jab, right? Golovkin's jab was one of the best jabs in boxing, and that was primarily his best weapon, which obviously extended his career to when he was really past his best. Madrimov gave him a real hard time. Did Madrimov only have 10 fights? Yeah, but that's because he obviously had a long amateur pedigree, right? He was fast-tracked. I love when guys like John try and massively reach for saying he lost to Trout. He did not fucking lose to Trout. That was open fucking scoring. Everybody knew the fucking score well before the end. So it wasn't fucking even close to being fucking a loss. I got 100 on Canelo for TKO. Will give me 400 in return if he gets it. Yeah, it's a good bet. I had Bud 7-5 versus Madrimov. Bud beat Madrimov 7-5 in my opinion. Could have been 8-4. Floyd, GG, and Bivol. I don't know if Floyd Mayweather beats Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford never boxed the fighter with a longer reach than him. If he fought Bud Crawford, he would have gave up 2 inches in reach to Bud Crawford, as well as the guy who could switch, hit, change, force Floyd to actually be more aggressive, which would have been great. I'm not saying Floyd couldn't have won. I would have loved to see it because he would have had to fight very different to beat Bud Crawford. The power jab was something else. I don't think Bud did enough to take the belt from the champ. Oh, yeah, he did. There's a lot of times that's not the case, but in that case, the only guy you can blame for that is Madrimov, because Madrimov just didn't throw enough punches. He didn't engage. He was too tentative. You can't win a fucking fight if you don't throw punches. The Bivol Better BF story is so amazing for the sport, both pound for pound list, both were undefeated, and both took each other 0. That's how you know it's high level. Yeah, and those 2 fights were super fucking clinical, right? 2 great fighters making adjustments. Like both of those fights were super competitive, right? And definitely show you how great both of those fighters are. Bud versus Madrimov could have been 6-6 as well. I think at 147, Bud had a great chance. At 140, at 135, Floyd destroys him. Well, try to think of a fighter that's as good as Bud that Floyd Mayweather fought at 135 and 140. Right? Most of the big names he had on his resume happened at 147, and they were past their best. Who did he fight at 135 and 140 that were dominant fucking fighters? He didn't fight Cotto. He didn't fight Mosley. He didn't fight De La Hoya. He didn't fight fucking Tito, well, Pernell Whitaker. He didn't fight any of the top fighters from 130, 135. None of them. Zero. Zilch. The only guy he fought that you could say was at that level was my man, but he fought him at 147. Zab Judah, right? Again, not at 140, not at 135. I heavily favor Bivol if they fight a third time. Madrimov lost in all the last 3 rounds. Bud lifted the tempo, and started landing 2-3 punch combinations. Exactly. That's how I had it. How long did Floyd fight at 140? Not long. Maybe 2-3 fights. I miss Lomachenko, but he made the right decision. He would have become a gateway fighter for the younger guys, and Loma wouldn't have got any credit for beating them if he did. Well, I think he would have beat fucking Tank Davis. I don't know about Shakur Stevenson. His opposition at 135 was way better than Bud's, though. You tell me, who did he fight at 135 that was great? I mean, the one fighter at 135 is true. Was Gamboa? Was that at 135? Or Gamboa is the best fighter he fought at 135, Bud Crawford. Zab, an underrated win for Floyd. Yeah, at 147. Prime Loma beats Tank. I think this version of Lomachenko beats Tank. Fucking Lomachenko's a way better fighter than Lamont Roach. I always felt that he would frustrate Tank Davis. Tank Davis would fucking do what he did against Lamont Roach. Fucking blow a gasket and do something stupid. Yeah, Gamboa was 135. Corrales was not at 135. I think he would have gave Shakur a good fight still. Sure he would have. Yeah, it would have been a tough fight because Lomachenko would have been the aggressor, which kind of leads into what Shakur wants. But then the way Shakur fights, he'd be so negative, right? Prime Lomachenko versus Bud at 135. Honestly, I pick Lomachenko. At 135, I pick Lomachenko. When they wanted Lomachenko to fight Floyd, it was when Lomachenko was at 130 and Floyd was at 147. And then they say, why is he ducking that fight? So he's got to go to 135, 140. He's got to jump up 3 weight divisions to fight Bud Crawford. Once again, looking for a reason to fucking hate on and make a fucking non-black fighter lose. And of course, they wouldn't have said weight bullying, fucking Bud Crawford weight bullying at that point either, right? Tank relies on his opponent's output. That's why I think Tank versus Shakur would be a trash fight. It probably would be a trash fight, but that's because Tank Davis would lose. And for the fight to be good, Tank Davis would have to win. I really wanted to see Loma beat Tank or do what? It's disappointing, right? Lomachenko got screwed. The Nicholas Walters fight was supposed to happen at 126 for unification. They called out fucking Rigo at 124 at catch weight, right, to give him a world title fight at 126. Rigo ducked that fight. Lomachenko goes on to beat them later on at different weight classes, gets 0 credit, right? If he would have fucking beat Walters after beating Gary Russell and then fought Rigo at a 124 catch weight for his title and beat Rigo at that weight, you couldn't dismiss those wins nearly as easily as they do now, right? At 126, he would have had Walters, Gary Russell, fucking potentially a Salido rematch, and fucking Rigo, right? And it would have changed things a lot. Then by the time he went to 130, he would have been much more popular, more marketable, and it would have been harder for guys like Tank Davis and the other champions to duck him. Mikey ducked Loma and Gamboa. Well, fucking Mikey definitely ducked Loma. And he ducked fucking Bud Crawford. That's why he left Top Rank. He knew the writing on the table. Tank is low output. Shakur is super low output. Sean, do you think Tank's power is overrated? No, I think Tank's got great power. Tank's an exciting fighter. The problem is he just hasn't fucking done what we as boxing fans want. Prove how good you are. That's all. We want all the great fighters to fight the best guys in their weight class. Literally everyone. You tell me one great fighter now that I'm protecting, and I don't want him to fight the best fighters in the division. People are going to say, you don't want Canelo to fight David Benavidez. That's ironic too, because they're so fucking caught up in how Canelo Alvarez is a weight bully and is taking advantage of Bud Crawford. Yet they've been pushing for fucking Canelo to fight David Benavidez all this time. Meanwhile, Benavidez is what? 4 or 5 inches taller, 5 to 6 inches longer in reach, easily fucking 20 to 25 pounds heavier. But they don't care about weight bullying there because, of course, Canelo is not an FBA fighter. So it don't matter. I don't understand these so-called fans that hate on guys like Loma and Usyk, but put themselves in disadvantages to make fights. I know. All those dudes wanted to do was fight everybody. That's all they wanted to do. And because of that, Loma took some losses, fighting when he was injured, telling his team he was going to retire if they didn't let him fight fucking Lopez. Bob should have fucking solved that problem. Bob should have had him fight Comey for undisputed. Then he would have been the undisputed champion. Haney never would have got that fucking baby belt. And then he could have fought Devin Haney and Lopez for undisputed unification. Or not unification, defense, right? And that also would have changed everything, right? If he would have beat Comey instead of allowing Lopez to fight Comey. Then he would have been the undisputed champion. They would have fucking challenged him, and now it would have been a whole different narrative. Remembering how Loma made guys like Fannin and Blue Blood look foolish by completely embarrassing Rigo still brings me joy. Rigo's on a whole nother level. He's going to break Loma's jaw. Mikey, the Mexican Eagle Garcia. I think Lamont stood his ground, but I don't think he won, and the performance was overrated. Oh, no, come on. Lamont fought great. Tank Davis blew a gasket, fucking struggled, got frustrated, and then fucking should have been fucking disqualified. Benavidez is super middleweight, but welterweight. But Benavidez was never a super middleweight. The guy lost his title on the scale. This was a dude that used illegal fucking drugs to fucking make weight, right? That's why he's now at 175 and still big for that weight division. I remember in the very beginning, all the hype was with Loma and not much attention to Usyk, but Usyk ended up having a much more decorated career, life, and man. Well, a lot of that also because of choices, right? Lomachenko could have fought Kambosos earlier to have those 3 belts for unification also, but he chose to go and support the Ukraine. Usyk came back faster and continued to box. Usyk was also in a much higher profile weight division, heavyweight boxing, with guys like fucking Fury and Anthony Joshua, right? Lomachenko never had opponents at that level. Haney, Shakur, Tank Davis, they're not fucking AJ Fury level. They're not that big. They're not global superstars like those guys are. Boots is a sellout. Remember, guys, never spar someone with a different race. Sean, what does a traditional Taiwanese breakfast consist of? They eat like dam bing. Dam bing is pretty good. It's not like bread, but it's like a not a tortilla, but it's similar, right? And then you got your eggs, bacon inside, and then it's wrapped and then fried, and it becomes crispy. Then they just chop it, put it in a bag. You also get turnip cake. They get turnip and turn it into like mashed potatoes, and then make it into like a cake, crispy on both sides, and then cut that in, and you eat that. They also have like a soybean sort of milk sort of drink that they drink as well. So that's pretty standard. There's also congee with these big sort of foamy breadsticks, which is more like a donut, not so much like bread. And you put it inside and it just kind of softens and, adds some texture to the congee. Congee is like rice porridge. So that's pretty normal for Taiwan. Benavidez is more like a cruiserweight. He's exactly like Zerto. right? Come on, Sean. Benavides is a little guy for 175. Yeah, okay. Benavides is where near a natural 168er. The big mofo towers over Bivol and better BF. Bro, don't do that to yourself. Laugh out loud. That's a terrible take. Are the die-hard Tank fans making excuses for him not rematching Pitbull or Roach, the two fighters who gave him his toughest tests? Well, a lot of them are, but some of them are calling it out, which is good. I mean, like Knockout Boxing says he's getting hated on by dick riding fucking Tank Davis fans. But the irony is he was the biggest dick riding fucking Tank Davis fan for fucking more than a year. The fact that now reality slaps him in the face and he has to be somewhat fucking realistic, and now he sees how ridiculous the fanboys truly are, right? He didn't realize that when they were all agreeing with him, subbing to his channel, giving him fucking money, and agreeing with all his bullshit takes, right? At that time, he was just collecting the cash, happy to be a Tank Davis dick rider. Zero has more layers to his game. That's true, he does. Stringer from above, he was dwarfed by Vosdick. I don't think he was dwarfed by Vosdick, but Vosdick looked equally as tall as him, but more muscular, not as chubby fat. But that's based on different body styles, right? Benavides is always a little fucking soft. Ellie Setback, love Tank. Ellie Setback has to be the fucking cringiest motherfucker ever. You guys see this picture that was put on social media about Ellie Setback and Tank Davis? Let me see if I can find it. I took the picture. I was going to use it for one of my videos, but I don't know if it's still here. Oh, here. Ellie Setback and Tank. So cute. Oh my God. Sean, is Tim Bradley losing his mind? He definitely fucking sounds like he's fucking flipping a wig, man. The bullshit fucking, and just his take and how he's delivering his content now. He sounds like he's really trying hard to sell his channel, realizing that if he's really off the top with crazy fucking narratives, right, that really are sort of takes that go viral, that he can start making a lot of money off of fucking boxing on YouTube. So I think he's really just fucking really going over the top in his whole fucking approach. But you're making videos in your car. Yeah, Volstick is another huge motherfucker. He could easily be a cruiserweight. Bro, what the fuck? Ally been praying for that. He is. Yeah, science proves guys with the dad bod is more productive than the Greek god bod. Well, in boxing, for sure, right? You look at Mexican fighters, why they have such great fucking endurance. Because they don't have so much muscle. They don't get so much lactic acid, right? So they can throw punches fucking for 12 rounds, high volume, right? So really, that's probably the benefit you have for David Benavides. And that's definitely probably a negative for Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo is the opposite. He's always been a lot more like a fucking bulldog. Tim thinks Ward can beat AJ. Oh, of course he does. Oh, because those guys literally perform 69 on each other in the back fucking of ESPN studios for boxing events. Like, both those dudes are fucking cringe as fuck. Like, I heard somebody talking about how Andre Ward is a great commentator in boxing. I'm like, really? Come on, man. There's nothing great about Andre Ward as a boxing commentator. He never fucking takes a stand. He always fucking, he is fucking mid, right? Always fucking riding the fence. Never taking a strong fucking response to anything. At least Tim Bradley takes big responses. Whether he sounds like an idiot or not, at least he has strong opinions. St. Don thinks you using his profile on John Boxing's page. I like Tim as a commentator, not Ward. Yeah, I don't like either of them. I prefer Paulie Malignaggi, even though I think Paulie is also a fucking idiot as well. But when he was doing boxing commentating, he was great. He knows what he's talking about. His delivery was good, right? He has strong opinions. That's good. Can't believe Turkey has used Ward as one of the commentators for the fight. Well, I guess he hears fucking Ward crying so much, he figures he might as well throw him some money doing something, right? Okay, okay. I know you're fucking poor. Let me throw you a paycheck. How you prefer Paulie over Tim? Paulie was one of the best color commentators in boxing until he got kicked off of Showtime because fucking he said something anti Deontay Wilder. But that's also why he's good, because he has strong opinions. Whether you agree with him or not, I prefer a guy that has opinions as opposed to a guy that got nothing fucking to say. Paulie is the black Tim in commentating. Man, Ward is going to be super biased for Crawford when he fights Canelo. Once again, right? Like, that's the problem with doing something like that. You're going to have blatant guys that fucking fanboy for one fighter right off the top. What next for Wilder? Who cares? Wilder fucking dropped the ball. He should be the one getting in the ring with fucking Jake Paul. That would be a legitimate fight. Jake Paul, Deontay Wilder. People would not be hating on that like they are Tank Davis, right? That would be something realistic. The guy's not a champion. He looks like his career is almost over. This is a big payday. If he beats Jake Paul, it's going to make him a household fucking name and potentially get him a big fight with maybe an Anthony Joshua. I don't like Ward's podcast or commentary. Me neither. Me neither. He's not my cup of tea. But, oh well. That's okay. Everybody has their own. Like John Boxing doesn't like mine. He says, I'm boring and shit to listen to, yet he's always on all my feeds. So I don't understand that. I'm boring and shit to listen to, John, but you're here all the time. I guess I could just fucking have multiple people screaming, yelling on my live, and you would like that more? Like, I wouldn't like it. It'd give me a headache. That's why I avoid that shit. They gave Ward the old Showtime boxing channel, and he can barely crack 20,000 views. How will Canelo Crawford play out? I think Crawford will win a decision or get stopped by Canelo late. That's my prediction. And you heard it here first. But I'm a racist who hates black fighters, yet I'm predicting Bud Crawford to win. I mean, go figure. Go figure. I guess I'm just using him to hate on the PBC dudes that support fucking Canelo. He's also one of the worst unofficial judges ever, Ward. Come on. Ward's fucking a tool, man. That dude is just jealous of everybody. Ward don't have the edge, and he's not a man's man. Well, he's the son of God, right? The son of God. Only with Andre Ward, we have to be fucking so concerned about his religion. We never have to be concerned about Roman Gonzalez's religion or anybody else's religion. But Andre Ward, we got to be focused on his. Do you think they both retire afterwards? I think if Crawford loses, he will retire. If Canelo wins, I think we could be looking at him fighting somebody else May of 2026 and maybe September. Maybe one more year of boxing for Canelo Alvarez if he wins. Who will he fight? Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul, right? People love it. Can you imagine he fights Jake Paul and then people get in their feelings? You can't defend Tank Davis and then get upset when fucking Canelo does it, right? Because you already fucking blew that by defending him. But who could he fight? He could fight the British dude. Or a fight I would like to see would be the Mimbili versus Lester Martinez winner that's on the undercard. I'd be super cool with him fighting Mimbili. I think Canelo Alvarez, Mimbili pushing hard. He's a very fucking uber aggressive fighter. That would be fucking a fun fight to watch. Kind of like Golovkin when he fought Murata. That was a great fight. You got to go back and watch that fight because that was fucking sheer entertainment, that fight. Remember when Kovalen called him son of judges? Son of judges. Oh, well. He wasn't wrong, but my phone is dying since my internet is somehow not working. So thanks everyone for jumping in. Obviously, this is going to be a quiet weekend of boxing, but next weekend we do have boxing back on the schedule. Let's just quickly look. Where was that I just saw? Inui's fight card's coming up, but of course nobody cares about Inui. He's fucking inconsequential. Nobody's talking about him. Not like Errol Spence. Everyone's talking about Errol Spence. This is John Boxing. Who the fuck's talking about Errol Spence? Like people laughing at Errol Spence. But so we got September 13th, the Canelo card. November 22nd, David Benavidez, Anthony Yard, which is going to be a great card. From Canada on the 4th, Iglesias Shishkin is fighting, which is a great matchup. Big card from the UK, no one I care about. Another card, Pennsylvania. A card from fucking Dominican Republic, no one cares about. Mexico card, Oscar Valdez, no one cares. Next week, September 6th, from Sinaloa, Mexico, on DAZN, Nunez versus Christopher Diaz. That should be a good card. Of course, Pat McCormick, my favorite UK fighter, is going to be fighting on the 6th in DAZN from the UK. Then Canelo the next weekend. And then Lewis Crocker, Paddy Donovan, September 13th. That's a good card. And then on the 14th, the Sunday, that's a great weekend, right? Canelo, Bud Crawford on the Saturday, and then Inui from Japan on the Sunday, right? It's a good card. Take is defending his WBO title. Inui versus MJ. Quite a few young up-and-coming fighters in the card. Stanionis is fighting somebody from Lithuania. Boots Ennis versus Lima, October 11th. Funduro versus Keith Thurman. Bullshit. That fight card is from fucking Sydney, Canada. Shut up. That must be a typo. There's no way fucking Funduro, Keith Thurman is going to be in Canada. I think they mixed that up and did it twice because there you have Radzitsky fighting. That fight obviously is Canada. But Funduro in Canada? Come on, man. Boatsi, Zach Parker is fighting. That's a good card. And then, of course, Virgil Ortiz is fighting Lubin, November 8th, DAZN. Jake Paul, fucking Javante Tank Davis, November 14th. Pure garbage. Eubank Ben 2, the 15th. 22nd. Yeah, so November is going to be a good month. But there you go, people. Thanks for watching. Obviously, next weekend we'll have more to talk about. And the way fucking this YouTube boxing community goes, we know there's going to be cringy fucking motherfuckers pushing DEI bullshit narratives constantly because they're afraid Crawford's going to get beat by Canelo. So all they can do is get ahead of it. Get in front of it by pushing their narratives. Because whenever it's a black American fighter, we need excuses. I don't think it's in Canada. I think that was a typo because the fight card underneath of it is in Canada. So I think they just made a mistake. I definitely don't think Thurman Funduro would be in Canada, especially Sydney. Sydney's where my sister lives. There's nobody fucking there. That would be the worst place to do. That fight card's probably going to be at the casino my sister works at. I'll have to ask her. But yeah. Thanks, everyone, for jumping in. I will see you next time. Peace out. Have a good week.